Here is a sentence being repeated everywhere this week. If Meghan comes, they won their security back. It sounds clean, it sounds final, and the public record says it is wrong. In July, Harry and Meghan are bringing both children to Britain. It is their first family trip since 2022. Loud voices are already calling it proof of a victory. But the court papers tell a much quieter story. Once you read them, you cannot unsee it, so let us read them together. In the next few minutes, I will show you three things: the exact dates, the children's schedule, and the ruling from last May that already settled all of this. We will use the court's own words, not a headline, not a source close to anyone. The judge used a phrase that decides this entire question, case by case. Hold on to those words. By the end, you will know what this trip really proves. First, the background, because this audience remembers all of it. You did not learn this story, you lived it. Harry is the younger son of King Charles, fifth in line to the throne. For most of his life, his safety came automatically, paid for by the state. Then, in 2020, he and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. They moved abroad, and the automatic, round-the-clock armed protection ended. That one change is the engine of everything that followed. If you watched the funeral in 1997, you remember a boy walking behind his mother's coffin. That boy is the man in this story. Safety for him has never been an ordinary worry. It is tied to the worst day of his childhood. So, when he talks about protection, he is not talking about comfort. He is talking about a wound. That matters, and we should hold it, honestly. After the move, Harry went to court. He argued the decision to downgrade his security was unfair. He said his life was at stake. His lawyer told the judge those exact words in open court. The case ran for years. And here is the pattern most channels skip. Through all of it, Harry kept coming back to Britain alone. For court dates, for charity work, for a brief reunion with his father last September, their first in 18 months. But Meghan stayed in California. The children stayed in California. For nearly 4 years, that line did not move. Here is why this lands so hard. For 5 years, the security fight has been the one fixed point in a moving story. Deals came and went, interviews aired, a memoir sold millions. But the protection question never closed, so any sign of movement feels enormous. And the whole family flight to Britain looks like the biggest sign yet. These viewers value loyalty, they value family, they also value fairness. Both readings of this trip pull on those values at once, so we go to the receipts. Start with the claim itself. A respected royal editor said it plainly on a podcast in March. If Meghan comes this summer, you can guarantee they have won their security deal. It is a clean line. It is also a guess. So let us check it against the one document that is not a guess. On the 2nd of May, 2025, the Court of Appeal in London ruled. 3 judges, unanimous, they dismissed Harry's challenge. They said the committee that handles royal security acted lawfully, and they described how his protection now works. His security would be decided, the judgment said, case by case, when more was known about his visits to the UK. Read that again. That phrase is the whole ruling. It is not restored protection. It is a system where every trip is assessed on its own, where he must give advance notice, where cover depends on the plan and the threat level that week. The court did not hand back the old arrangement. The court locked in the new one. So a family trip does not break that system. A family trip is that system working exactly as built, and the dates prove it. Now the dates, because they are the first clue most people missed. This is not an open-ended stay. The trip runs from the 7th of July to the 11th of July, 4 days. A tight, defined window. That detail matters more than it looks. A defined window with public events booked in advance is exactly what an advance notice arrangement produces. If Harry had genuinely won back permanent, automatic cover, he would not need a neat 4-day window. He could come whenever he liked, for as long as he liked, with protection following by default. He cannot. So he planned, he declared, he booked. That is not the behavior of a man who won. That is the behavior of a man working inside the rules he lost. But the clearest clue is the children. And here is the part other channels are getting completely backwards. The story being sold is that the children are about to be paraded for the cameras, costume changes, photo opportunities, a grand unveiling. The actual reporting says the opposite. People magazine reported that while Archie and Lilibet are traveling with their parents, they will not attend any public engagements. None. Sit with that. The one part of this trip that would draw the most attention is simple. It is the first public sight of these children in Britain. And it is the one part that is not happening. Why would a family supposedly celebrating a security victory keep the children entirely out of view? Because low exposure is what a careful, threat assessed trip looks like. You bring the children to see family privately. You keep them away from crowds and cameras. That is not a victory lap, that is caution. And caution is the tell. If you want the receipts other channels skip, the like button genuinely helps this reach more people. So look at what they will actually do in public. The trip centers on one event, the 1 year countdown to the Invictus Games held at the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham. Harry founded those games in 2014 for wounded service members. It is his lane, it is his proudest work. Around it sit charity visits. As patron of Well Child, he is set to mark 20 years since the charity placed its first specialist nurse at Birmingham Children's Hospital. There is also a visit tied to Scotty's Little Soldiers, a charity for bereaved military children. Read that list again. Every single event is charity. Every single one connects to service, to veterans, to grieving children. There is no palace on the schedule. There is no balcony. There is no royal reunion announced at all. The Telegraph reported there was no word on whether the king would even meet his 2 grandchildren. So this is not a homecoming to the royal fold. It is a work trip with the family attached. Now place this against the family story. In May last year, Harry told the BBC he wanted to reconcile. He said life is precious. He said he did not know how much longer his father has. Last September, the 2 men had a brief private tea at Clarence House, their first meeting in 18 months. Warm, but small. So is this July trip the next step in healing? Maybe, it might be, but notice what is confirmed and what is not. The charity events are confirmed, the dates are confirmed, a meeting with the king is not, the grandchildren meeting their grandfather is not. We are told the children are coming to see his wider family. We are not told the family has agreed to be seen. That gap is the whole story. And this fits a longer pattern this audience has watched for years. A big announcement lands, the headline runs ahead of the facts, then the quieter detail arrives, and it is smaller than the headline promised. Sympathy first, the reality second. We have seen it with launches that faded, with projects announced and then gone quiet. This is the same shape. A headline says victory, the receipts say procedure. To be fair, let us give the other side its strongest case. The fact that Meghan is coming at all is real movement. She has not set foot in Britain for any public moment in nearly 4 years. And bringing both children is not a small decision for parents who have said again and again that they feared for their safety here. The Telegraph reported Harry was assured protections will be in place for the visit. So someone, somewhere, is satisfied the arrangements are good enough this time, that is genuine. It is fair to read warmth into it. A family that felt completely unsafe would not book the trip at all. So this is not nothing. And there is one more fair point. Trips assessed one at a time can still go well again and again. A run of approved visits could, over time, start to feel almost normal. So the optimists are not foolish. They are just reading the future, not the document. The honest reading is that the door has opened a crack. The dishonest reading is that the door is now permanently off its hinges. Only one of those matches the paperwork. So here is the verdict. Winning your security back means you stop asking permission. This family still has to ask. They have to name the dates. They have to wait to declare the plan. They have to wait for the assessment. That is not a victory. That is a visiting pass. And a visiting pass is exactly what the court described. Decided case by case, trip by trip, with more known each time. The system did not break this week. The system worked. The headline calls it a win. The paperwork calls it a process. And a process is not a homecoming. What we are really watching is smaller, and in a way sadder than the headline. A father is using the one route still open to him. 4 days. Charity events he can control. Children kept safely out of frame. A family meeting he hopes for but cannot announce. He is not walking back through the front door of his old life. He is knocking politely through a side gate that opens for 4 days and then closes again. Whether it opens wider next time, no one can promise. Not him, not the palace, not a single source close to anyone. For most families, a grandfather meeting his grandchildren needs no ruling, no notice, no assessment, it just happens. For this family, it may need all 3. Strip away the noise, and that is the real headline. not a triumph, not a defeat. A father doing the most ordinary thing a parent can want through the narrowest door he has left. Now, I want to hear from you, and I want a real answer, not a slogan. Most of you have grandchildren. Some of you have waited far too long to see them. So imagine this. A narrow window opens. 4 days. Your own grandchildren, whom you have never properly met, are in your country for the very first time. Do you spend those 4 days proving a point about who was right, or do you spend them on the floor with the children saying nothing to the press at all? There is no easy answer. Tell me what you would do, and subscribe so you do not miss what this side gate does next.